Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some hot topics making waves in the news. First up, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is gearing up for a crucial trade meeting in Washington, D.C. He's meeting with Canada's incoming Prime Minister and other premiers to tackle the ongoing trade tensions with the U.S. The stakes are high as both nations look to renegotiate terms to avoid economic fallout from tariffs. Next, we have an intriguing diplomatic twist as an Emirati diplomat carries a letter from President Trump to Iran's foreign minister. This letter aims to kickstart discussions on Iran's nuclear program, but skepticism runs high, especially from Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who has already dismissed talks with the U.S. as bullying. The situation is tense as Iran's uranium enrichment nears weapons-grade levels amidst economic struggles. Lastly, we turn to Columbia University, where a graduate student faces deportation due to his involvement in pro-Palestinian protests. His legal battle is heating up, with the government seeking to move proceedings to New Jersey or Louisiana. This case has ignited protests and divided opinions among Jewish groups, highlighting the complexities surrounding free speech and immigration rights. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. The Toronto Star, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is actively engaging with both the incoming Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and other provincial leaders ahead of a significant trade meeting in Washington, D.C. Ford's discussions center around the escalating trade tensions between Canada and the United States, particularly following the U.S. imposition of a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports. In retaliation, Canada announced tariffs on nearly $30 billion worth of U.S. goods. As Ford prepares to meet with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, he emphasizes the importance of building relationships and dialogue over the USMCA trade agreement, advocating for negotiations to address trade imbalances rather than escalating tariffs. His message is clear: both economies stand to lose from continued hostilities. The Toronto Star, in a surprising diplomatic twist, an Emirati diplomat carrying a letter from U.S. President Donald Trump met with Iran's foreign minister in Tehran. This letter, intended for Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, aims to reignite discussions regarding Iran's nuclear program at a time when the country is facing severe economic difficulties due to U.S. sanctions. Khamenei has expressed skepticism toward negotiations with the U.S., labeling Trump's overtures as deceptive. The backdrop of this diplomatic effort is marked by Iran's uranium enrichment nearing weapons-grade levels, raising concerns over potential military confrontations. As tensions escalate, the situation remains precarious, with Iran caught between internal strife and external pressures from the U.S. and its allies. The Toronto Star, the legal battle surrounding Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil has taken a dramatic turn as the U.S. government seeks to move his case to a different jurisdiction amid efforts to deport him over his participation in pro-Palestinian protests. Khalil, a permanent resident married to an American citizen, was arrested and is currently detained in Louisiana. His legal team argues that his arrest is a retaliatory act against his free speech rights. The case has sparked widespread protests, highlighting the contentious atmosphere surrounding free speech and immigration policy under the Trump administration. While some Jewish organizations support the government's actions as a deterrent against anti-Semitism, others decry the implications for democratic rights, illustrating the divisive nature of this issue in contemporary America. The Toronto Star reports on the PGA Tour's ongoing negotiations with Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, to unify with LIV Golf, a move that has drawn scrutiny due to the involvement of former President Donald Trump as a facilitator. Commissioner Jay Monahan has faced challenges in his role, with the pandemic disrupting tournaments and LIV Golf luring away star players. Despite the complexities and the potential benefits of Trump's influence, the optics of the PGA Tour aligning with a controversial figure raises questions about its global mission and the impact on fans, especially those in Canada, where the PGA Tour has deep roots. In another article, the Toronto Star highlights Dr. David Weldon's nomination to lead the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the scrutiny he faces regarding his anti-vaccine stance. Weldon, a former congressman with no direct public health experience, is closely aligned with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a prominent anti-vaccine activist. As he prepares for his Senate confirmation hearing, concerns arise about whether Weldon's leadership will strengthen or undermine the CDC's mission, particularly in light of his past criticisms of vaccine safety and the agency itself. The upcoming hearing will likely see Democrats challenging him on these issues, with the potential for both positive and negative implications for public health. Lastly, the Toronto Star covers Canada's response to U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum, announcing a 25% tariff on $29.8 billion worth of American goods. This move comes as retaliation against the Trump administration's tariffs, which have disrupted the trading partnership between the two nations. Canadian Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc emphasized the detrimental effects of U.S. tariffs on everyday goods for both Canadians and Americans. The Canadian government is committed to protecting its auto sector and ensuring compliance with trade agreements, signaling a readiness to respond further if necessary. The escalating trade tensions illustrate the complexities of international relations and the economic implications for both countries. The Toronto Star reports that despite President Donald Trump's persistent calls for Canada to become the United States' 51st state, a recent poll reveals a significant lack of interest in such a merger from both Canadians and Americans. The Angus Reid Institute survey found that 60% of Americans and a staggering 90% of Canadians oppose the idea of annexation. Interestingly, while only 6% of Americans support the notion of using political or military pressure to annex Canada, a growing number of Canadians, 54%, up from 32% in January, believe Trump is serious about his threats. Among political affiliations, conservative voters showed the highest support for annexation, with 20% indicating they would vote for it in a referendum. In another article, the Toronto Star highlights Canada's response to Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum, which have prompted the Canadian government to impose counter-tariffs on nearly $30 billion worth of American products. Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc announced these measures as a direct retaliation against the U.S. penalties, emphasizing that Canada is prepared to escalate its response if necessary. The new tariffs target a wide array of goods, including computers and sports equipment, and reflect Canada's strategy to protect its industries while navigating the tumultuous trade relationship with the U.S. LeBlanc criticized the ongoing tariff threats as harmful to both nations, while Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly described the situation as an existential threat stemming from Trump's economic coercion. The Independent reports on a significant funding cut from the Trump administration to the University of Maine, following a public confrontation between Trump and Governor Janet Mills regarding transgender athletes' participation in women's sports. After Mills stood her ground against Trump's executive order, the USDA suspended millions in funding, which supports various educational and agricultural programs at the university. This funding freeze comes in the wake of Trump's threats to withdraw federal support from states that do not comply with his directives. Mills' firm stance and Trump's aggressive rhetoric underscore the ongoing tensions surrounding gender issues and federal funding, with the university asserting its compliance with existing laws. Deutsche Welle reports that as Europe embarks on a significant rearmament initiative, its commitment to supporting security in Asia is increasingly uncertain. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen previously emphasized the EU's desire to engage more actively in the Indo-Pacific, but the ongoing focus on European defense due to the war in Ukraine may overshadow these aspirations. The EU has seen several of its larger states, like Germany and France, establish defense agreements with countries such as Vietnam and the Philippines, which are facing tensions with China. However, experts suggest that the reallocation of resources towards European security could limit the EU's ability to contribute to Asian security efforts. While some analysts believe that Europe can still maintain a symbolic military presence in Asia, others warn that the prioritization of European defense might lead to a reduction in foreign aid and commitments to Southeast Asia. Despite these challenges, ongoing trade negotiations with countries like Thailand and India indicate that economic ties may remain strong, even as military support faces potential cuts. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Morning coffee, fresh off the press. Reading headlines, feeling blessed. World keeps turning, stories unfold. Every moment news gets told. to know. Never stopping, always go. Scrolling, swiping, reading on. Daylight breaks into dawn. Headlines and headlines, can't get enough.